Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Amisha Shah. I'm the Global Events Lead here at ECI. We're excited to bring you this session today focused on Microsoft Copilot, exploring latest updates, powerful features, and what's coming next. As a modern MSP at ECI, we're extremely proud of our certified Microsoft partner status and together being able to help firms work globally to work smarter and unlock new levels of productivity with AI. Before we dive into today's session, a quick few housekeeping notes. The webinar today will run for approximately an hour with a Q&A segment at the end. Of course, we want this session to be as interactive as possible, so please feel free to chime in with questions via the Q&A panel at any time. My lovely colleague Bryan, who's a Microsoft consultant, is on hand today to reply back to your questions in real time. Lastly, the session today is being recorded and you will receive the recording slides and notes along with a copy of our new Copilot playbook. So please keep an eye out for those in your inbox. Without further ado, I'll now hand over to Julius, our resident Microsoft expert here at ECI, to lead today's session. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Misha. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining this early in the morning or good evening if you're coming in the afternoon or at night. As mentioned, I'm Julius Damato. I'm sure most of you have or know about me in some capacity, but if you would like to connect, there's my email address and my QR code that'll get you connected to me. Today, we're going to cover quite a bit of what's kind of changed, at least in the last month or so. I will emphasize, use the Q&A if you have questions. I will break down some of the topics that are on slide. So if you're not paying attention at home, you might want to. Additionally, we will have a couple of follow-up webinars and sessions and presentations that will go out to our clients after Microsoft Ignite. Microsoft Ignite is Microsoft's big kind of technology showcase. We have a number of staff, including myself, attending this year again. It'll be in San Francisco the week before Thanksgiving, so expect stuff starting to flow in that week as well as the week of first week of December. That being said, let's cover kind of some of the new stuff that's happened. Largely in the last month, I tried to sprinkle in a couple of things that have occurred in the last 2 or 3 months. So you'll see that sprinkled throughout here. This is a very long set of slides. I do not want to kill people with 62 slides. It is no fun for anybody. So again, if you have questions, do ask them. But importantly, Microsoft does continue to evolve the Copilot control system now. So there's significantly more capabilities there from a reporting perspective. Its ability to tie into Purview's data security posture management for AI platform, your ability to view agent-to-agent interactions, how agents can actually be data labeled now. You can have explicit DLP policies applied to agents since they can have full identity if you want. So there's a tremendous amount of control happening there. And then on the agent front, Microsoft continues to add agents as a part of the core offering. So if you're new to some of these topics on what Microsoft 365 Copilot or Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat is, do reach out. There's a tremendous amount that you can get, air quote, for free from Microsoft, as well as you can enable pay-as-you-go services to get some of this, but not having to do a full committal if you're interested in that. But there's a tremendous amount of agent capability that's been expanded, and we'll touch on that throughout here. On the end user capability perspective, there is a new Copilot chat roadmap. So if you're interested in just the chat part of it, that's the free web only version of it. There's a URL you can go to. You can see all the new expansions that's happening there. Microsoft is adding a ton of free services included with your core Microsoft licensing. Importantly, email summarization and Outlook will be a core free feature that you'll get. So that's a big thing that you want to have from Copilot and are on the edge. Just wait for that and see how that works for you. And they are continuing to evolve the Microsoft 365 Copilot app. Teams chats and channels now come in the Context IQ menu. There's a pivot to the Microsoft 365 Copilot library to help centralize the stuff that you're creating with Copilot. There's AI views. You have the ability to make things, use Copilot to resolve conflicts. You can update documents and fix spelling throughout Word. There's a tremendous amount that's coming. Something that has gone into preview this month that I'm actually really excited about is your ability to share notebooks, share chats with your colleagues. It's been a huge ask. It's been in the consumer version for the last 2 months under Copilot Pro. I'm glad to see that coming in here. There'll be a lot more about that the week of Thanksgiving. But let's get rolling with the user capabilities because, again, quite a lot to go through here. So Copilot Chat is now included, again, on that free tier of Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat. So end users have the ability to use that inside of their Office applications. It will be context aware of what's going on there. It'll honor the continual chat instance on that perspective. So you can ask about files, emails, notebooks, pages, etc. directly in that app. If you're licensed, if you're not licensed, you just have access to the web and you can ask some light questions on the document you're in. But if you're licensed, it is context aware. It's already embedded in that document. It's always on the side pane. And importantly, it is a cross-platform experience. So it's something you'll see on web, you'll see on desktop, you'll see on Mac OS, you'll see on iOS. It'll continue to roll out. It actually is already fully rolled out now, to be transparent. Copilot does have a longer context model support, so they have extended that to be over a million token window now. So significantly more information can be pumped into it, can be significantly greater in accuracy. A number of clients commented to me in the beginning of October saying, "Hey, Copilot's been significantly better." A big reason for that is Microsoft extending the context window to be 1 million tokens from the previous 200,000 token limit. You are able to seamlessly now launch the full Microsoft 365 Copilot app if you have it installed for end users. I always recommend every client install it. This way you can push it instead of the consumer version. So you don't want people using the free version of Copilot. You want them to use the one that will follow your data governance that you set up in Purview. But that is now a button that's available in the chat. You can click it, open the Copilot app, and continue that conversation instead of having to jump over and switch contexts and things of that nature. So nice seeing that workflow transition. Copilot Chat does have the ability to do embedded images now alongside the documents. That's also been a huge ask. So you can ask, "Hey, analyze the image that's on page 4 for visual insights." It'll go ahead and do that. It no longer hard requires that kind of hidden caption on images. So it will do full image context awareness. So that's available with and without a full license. So if you're on using web chat and you upload a document to it, you're able to also take advantage of that feature as well. So that's been a very welcome addition. You are able to generate PowerPoint grounded now on Copilot pages. So I work very much inside of notebooks. I work a ton with the researcher agent. So being able to take things I've worked with Copilot on in my notebooks, in my pages, with my colleagues, straight into PowerPoint has been fantastic. It has started to roll out the end of September. It's still missing for some clients when I talk with them, but it is a slow rollout. A lot of the rollout stuff that I do get a lot of questions on is typically in a 2-month cycle, unfortunately, just due to it has to do with the number of licenses you have, how often your users are using Copilot. Do you have anybody in beta, anybody in the Frontier program? If you're interested in putting your employees or AI champions in Frontier or in beta, do reach out. It's very easy to do, very low impact for the business. So do reach out if you do have interest in doing that. Happy to work with you to get that initialized. Again, as I mentioned, Teams chats and channels are now available in the Context IQ menu. That has been fantastic for me because I deal with our salespeople, which, as you all likely know, is always fun and vibrant. So being able to just add a chat that you had into that menu, add a channel that you had discussions with colleagues has been great. It's great for productivity. It's great for taking what you chatted about and instead of having to search for it and then ask Copilot to do something, you can add the source of it straight into your chat and then do something with it. There is a new edit in Outlook button that shows up in the Copilot chat that started to roll out the end of last month. So you're able to finally work with Copilot chat to refine a draft and then bring that into Outlook with a single click instead of having to copy, paste, and reformat. So it's nice to see Microsoft continuing to evolve a more frictionless workflow from that perspective. Copilot Chat has new capabilities to ground responses in email data, more specifically longer email threads, attachments that have been in there, anything that lives in that context. It's been great to see that. Copilot was extended for it to have the ability to have access to shared mailboxes. So if you have shared mailboxes, you want to ask questions about that content, you do have that capability. That rolled out the end of September. What rolled out the end of October was your ability to have access to delegated mailboxes. So if someone has full mailbox access, Copilot Chat will honor that permission. You can ask questions about the content in that mailbox, and you're able to adjust that. You do have control on the ability for Copilot to do that if you're hyper concerned about something that could live in a user's mailbox. But importantly, there's a big reason why you should look at data labeling, look at using data information protection, look at using DLP policies to help control that. Users now can search for meeting RSVPs either from themselves or with their colleagues in the main Copilot chat. So again, you can just use natural language, say, "Hey, did so-and-so RSVP to this?" Ask those types of questions and get answers around that. It's been a very welcome change that rolled out the end of September, beginning October. The Copilot library is what I mentioned. That's currently in the Frontier program, but you should see that roll out to the core Copilot experience here in the next week or two. And that's really, again, bringing together what you may have used Copilot Create or Copilot Notebooks or Copilot Pages for, and bringing that into a single centralized hub, which has been nice because I do a ton of infographic work before I pass it off to Amisha and Jen on our side to save them some time and some money. So being able to quickly get to that instead of having to jump through hoops to find it has been nice. Again, that rolls out soon. Copilot search for meetings is there as well. So again, you can use natural language search for meetings. I realize that image I don't think was updated, so I will make sure that gets updated before that rolls out. But again, you're able to use natural language search for specific items and get that context window as well. Excuse me. You likely would have seen this roll out the end of September, which has been really nice. Is your ability to use Copilot Search to surface key insights into the documents, chats, etc. So when you're in the main Copilot interface, if you're using the search function of Copilot Search, you get a pop up that you can see, and you can ask questions about it without having to open it. You can look at generating FAQs. There's a couple of really quick short buttons that you can do on that. That's really nice because again, don't have to open up a document. The user can search, you can find the content, and then figure out if it's relevant or not in order to do that. You are able to quickly generate videos from a prompt with PDFs, Word documents using Copilot Create. I don't know why that's not there, but I think it's just PowerPoint Live being fun. So you do have the ability to use enhanced prompting to generate more engaging content. So you can use it with Word, PowerPoint, PDFs, text to videos. It'll do. There are enhancements on the Create side for HD voice options. Does full translations. Has the ability to apply your brand kits. If you're not using brand kits, you're not getting the real Copilot experience. So do reach out if you're interested in setting up brand kits. Brand kits is Copilot's ability to use your fonts, your colors, your logos, your any branding images you may have in order to create content. That applies both today to images, videos, etc., but will soon also apply to when you create Word documents, PDFs, etc., instead of you having to use only organizational asset libraries. What I am going to do real quick is I'm just going to stop the screen share and start it again to get the images and stuff to flow through. So give me 10 seconds because we are in have fun land. So hold please, everybody. Well, it's not a webinar, but technical difficulties, huh? So let's share. Sweet. So I'm gonna move that off. Perfect. See, that's what I want to see. Alrighty. Um, that's the AI view search summary section that's there that I showed before. Again, you are able to quickly create videos with Copilot, as I mentioned. So inside of Create, you can add more stuff there. They've enhanced that creator experience. I've turned around some videos for our marketing this way in about a third of the amount of time that everyone else did. So it's been really great being able to use that and have that simplified interface. And again, you can select brand kits, pick your vision, specify the voice, and go from there. That does support all of the translations. So if you want to create videos in different languages, you can do that. You can actually write that in your native language and then specify what to translate it to in the platform, and it'll do that for you, which has been great if you need to do that in a different language. This will be continued expansion into what Copilot can do in Excel. It has been a big ask from a lot of clients and the industry as a whole. A thing to call out is I always get the question of, hey, Copilot in Excel sucks. Why does it suck? A big reason for that is it does require tables. Also, Microsoft puts all of the features into the web version of Excel first. So if you're looking for the Copilot formula function, you're looking for formula completion, you're looking for all of the fancy formula and calculation stuff that Microsoft's been boasting about the last couple of months, it's only available in web today. Big important thing there. So if you're looking for it, that's where it lives today. It will roll out to desktop typically about 3 or 4 months later. There's a lot of reasons for that, plugins and add-ins and all that other fun stuff. But if you're looking for a feature with Copilot and you're not seeing it, go in web, you'll see it there. You are able to summarize emails with Copilot Chat, as I mentioned before. That no longer requires a license, so it's rolling out. Rolled out the end of last month. It started to roll out where if you're not licensed for Microsoft 365 Copilot and you just have chat, you can use the free license to summarize emails that'll be applied to new Outlook and the web, importantly. So if you're using classic Outlook, you may not see that feature just yet, as an FYI. Outlook does have a more immersive search, so you can use Copilot now to search more deep into emails. Again, instead of having to switch contacts and switch apps, you're able to do that natively. You can also now schedule meetings using Copilot Chat, which has been a big ask where you may have had a back and forth with someone and you go, hey, when is Jen, when is Amisha, when is Brian available? Copilot now will spell that out for you in the chat and then offer, through turn by turn refinement, the ability to automatically schedule that meeting for you, and generate the agenda and attach relevant documents, which has been nice. Copilot now makes it easier to resolve scheduling conflicts too. So you may have seen that if you're using New Outlook, you'll hear me say New Outlook quite a bit here. It does that interface now is significantly nicer, and to automate the conflict resolution. So whether you're scheduling a one-on-one, with meetings with teams, anything that is internal, it'll help. If it's an external meeting, you won't have the ability to do that unless you're B2B connected. That started roll out the end of last month, so you're able to use Copilot to kind of handle your calendar adjustments significantly more than you could before, which has been a nice addition. You can update documents now more explicitly using Copilot in Word. So you do have the ability to be more explicit in your prompting, have it create tables, more structured format, apply contextual content with the update feature that exists there. So now your formatting will stay. You're able to update explicit sections instead of wiping the entire document, which has been a nice addition, a nice change. And then you're able to bring in your content as well and have it follow the format of that Word document. So if you have an organizational asset library, and you're using Word templates there, it is able to use the core of the Word template in order to automatically templatize what is being inputted or generated with Copilot, which again has been a really big ask and has been really great. It's only available in web today, but will roll out on desktop and Mac here the next few months. So look at that for Q1. There is a fix all feature now in Copilot for Word where it'll fix your spelling, your grammar, adjust bullet points, all that fun stuff. So it's a single click, have a fix. So just kind of spelling and grammar, just with AI. So that's been a nice change. Instead of having to click in 100 places to do your spelling, you can just highlight the whole document, click on fix my spelling and grammar, and it'll do it for you. I am terrible with the only language I really know well. So it's been a nice adjustment there. Again, that is on the web. We'll roll out to desktop in the next couple of months. If you're using threads inside of Teams, you can now do thread summaries as a separate pop-out. So if you have teams that are using that in the Teams platform, you're able to get a very quick thread summary, and also post that as a very quick reply. So you're able to get a summary, stay informed, get structured formatting, and really get caught up in a much quicker thread. That did roll out the end of September. They have made changes to text generation in PowerPoint, which has been a nice add because we all know that in PowerPoint, Copilot was pretty bland in what it generated. That is rolled out in the web again, as I mentioned, and starts roll out on desktop and Mac here in October, well, the end of October. So you should see that change roll in here as long as you're keeping Office up to date. Copilot is now in Viva Engage. So if you're one of those few companies that use Viva Engage for internal employee engagement, Copilot's there. So you can ask about communities. You can ask about any of the campaigns that you may be launching through there. Very few clients in this industry do use it, but I have a number of clients that are in media, law firms, et cetera, that use it very heavily due to size. So it's nice to see that they've made that adjustment and you're able to pull in content from your other sources to generate posts, generate campaigns. So it's been a nice change. For those of you who have been interested in Copilot for sales, for service, or for finance, those are moving to be agent experiences. So that has been really nice to see instead of you having to use a completely separate plugin, completely separate app. That started rollout last week, believe it or not. So that will start to pivot and start to change and be a much more cohesive experience for end users instead of having to worry about deploying plugins and things of that nature. If you're interested in any of those, do reach out. Sales connects to CRM tools like Dynamics 365 at Salesforce. Service connects to ServiceNow, Jira, a couple of other native ticketing apps in order to bring that information into your Outlook, into Copilot, into that kind of data set. And then for finance, it does connect to various levels of ERPs, but largely Dynamics today. But you can pull in data from other sources if you do have it SSO integrated as a part of that Copilot connector experience. As I mentioned, there is the new Copilot chat roadmap. There's a link here if you're interested in seeing what Microsoft is doing explicitly with the free version of Microsoft 365 Copilot. They do have that broken down into different product areas, whether you want to learn how they're changing personalization, file handling, grounding, images, etc. A big part of what we're going to bleed into as we talk about agents is as you start looking at agents, whether you use the native Microsoft ones or ones you're building internally, do always emphasize with clients to try with Copilot Studio and build them there, at least as the front end, largely because all the agents that are available will become multimodal here in the next couple of weeks, meaning you can have a chat, you can add more than one agent, and then Copilot will orchestrate between the different agents in order to generate the responses. That's great because you don't have to get really granular in orchestration. But again, it's something that I do emphasize a lot with the client base today. If you are interested in knowing more about that, it'll be in the next couple slides as well. As we all know, big thing that happened is that Microsoft changed all the icons. That had the whole everybody up in arms because why did they change icons for the fifth time? I can't tell you, but they're meant to show Microsoft's AI focus, which I don't know how icons do that, but here we are. All right, let's talk about agents. So there is a new output control for the researcher agent if you're using that to perform research. So you should see that now where you have the ability to open up in Word. There's a quick pen icon that you can use to quickly edit and adjust what it was generated, as well as get audio overviews in a podcast style, things of that nature. That is in the core researcher experience. It rolled out on web, will be available on desktop in the next couple of weeks. Again, Microsoft does a tremendous amount on the web. So if you want some of the newer features and you don't want to worry about being in beta, you can do that there. The skills agent is something that is gone ahead and rolled out in Frontier. The awesome part about that is what you're able to do is use information that lives in the graph as a part of Delve as to what your employees, I don't want to say do from like a Big Brother perspective, but who they interact with, the type of content they're generating, information that they normally do that lives overall in shared locations in order to say, hey, who can help me with our due diligence? Who can help me with answering these types of questions? It's able to say, hey, Jenny's in this department. She focuses on this. You should ask her about that. So really using information that is normally in our brains and in kind of hidden in what gets written in order to surface that and help engage colleagues. For smaller organizations, probably not as useful but for businesses that are growing in size in the era of AI or in kind of the focus groups there, you're able to combine profile information, user selected skills, and et cetera to highlight that. So users have the ability to enroll in skills. Skills agents then bring that forward. So you're able to use different metrics like department, title, things of that nature in order to hydrate that. And again, connect people with the appropriate teams internally without having to deal with organizational maps. Big thing that we've been playing with, I mean Bryan and I, is the knowledge agent inside of SharePoint. That has gone into public preview this month, but will be generally available in November. Well, we're in November, but later this month. Importantly, with that, it's the knowledge agent in SharePoint is able to use Copilot, thankfully, in order to generate metadata, help with workflow generation. It's context aware of what is on the intranet. So if you're building intranet sites, you can rejoice that it'll be more Copilot centric and will be more useful. But a big reason for it to exist is really that metadata information generation, the metadata tagging, helping with workflows, things of that nature. It is enabled today, and you can enable it today in public preview. Site by site is a quick PowerShell command you run for that site to enable them if you want to see it today. But it will be more generally available in November if you just want to wait. At the end of this month, if you just want to wait a little while longer. Something that has gone more broadly available is Facilitator. So Facilitator is effectively like all the note taking apps that you all added onto this meeting, most likely. So similar to Otter, similar to Firefly, similar to Read AI, where you're able to have a note taker in the meeting. Bryan and I have been using this for months while it's been in preview. It was kind of in preview, and some clients that I worked with had it, some didn't, but it's gone now more generally available at the end of September. There are metered caps on usage, but I haven't seen it been really heavily enforced yet, but do expect a lot of the agent experiences will get metered kind of over time. If you're not aware, Satya recently, I say recently this week, mentioned that Microsoft does not have enough electricity or data centers to continue to support AI workloads, which is a little bit alarming. But they've agreed with other nations to build data centers there and move critical workloads over there from that perspective, as well as a couple of other US based stuff. So that should improve here because they're expecting to get that done by Q2. So this is an FYI on that. But Facilitator is great at taking notes. You can ask Facilitator in the meeting. You can have it create a timer for you. You can have it answer questions that have gone unanswered, create roadmaps, action plans, etc. Importantly with it is it just uses the transcription if you want to enable that. So if you're worried about recording and transcription, you can do Facilitator with just transcription. Let transcription expire, but you'll keep all the Facilitator notes because it generates that as a loop component in meeting notes. Great part about Facilitator too is you can compare series over time. So if you have your sales meeting every Monday, you can ask Copilot and Facilitator saying, hey, did we address all the action items that we needed to in last week's meeting? No. Okay, create an agenda for this week's meeting. And then importantly, you'll see there on the top, if I pull up my laser pointer, um, you do get an awesome speaker timeline, and it keeps track of when you've addressed those topics. So it is really great at that and keeping you on topic. I'm typically pretty bad at being on point sometimes because I tend to ramble, but it's been great seeing that be more broadly available. It's also available on mobile, which is great, and you can even use it to do notes with one-on-one meetings in person. It'll identify you if you do the Teams training, and it'll take notes for you again in person, ad hoc meetings, things of that nature. Some of the clients may have seen me do that when I've gone and visited them, and that's a big part of that. So it's great not having to worry about someone using a Plod pin or some other third-party physical tool to do it. Each Teams channel now can have a channel agent, so you can build agents explicitly for the channel. That helps you with task management. It does have meeting integration for those sections there. So that has been something that rolled out the end of September, but a number of clients haven't seen it yet, so it should be available here in the next couple of weeks. But it's great being able to have an agent sitting in a Teams channel and help bring insights because we all know that we're in that Teams channel that we definitely have to be a part of. That definitely is required by your manager. Being able to have something piece that together for you, whether you're out of the office or totally paying attention, it's good to see that expansion. As I mentioned, there's agents in Viva Engage, so they've kind of expanded that. So there are agent experiences that are a part of that. So it help with knowledge flow, help with community integration, help find people in the business that are experts in specific areas, whether that you're interested in finding that person that knows how to do a smoker at 2 a.m. so that you can have brisket by 9. It's that capability is there. That is in preview in September. There's no expected date for general availability for that if you're interested. That's not there yet. As I mentioned, and as we've been kind of drilling in some of the LinkedIn posts that you may have seen, is SharePoint agents use metadata, not just file context, in order to identify data. That rolled out in the end of September. That has been a great addition to have, where if you're using metadata, you have defined columns, etc. It will use that to help improve answer quality, help improve accuracy. So it's great seeing Copilot do that, not just the agents in SharePoint, but your core Copilot chat will use that metadata to help identify content. It's one of the biggest things I get is how does Copilot know what is relevant, what is not? Setting up metadata helps with that. The SharePoint knowledge agents will create metadata for you, or you can use SharePoint syntax if you're interested in doing that metadata labeling, metadata highlighting, and use syntax then to do document generation. So that rolled out September has been a welcome addition, especially for businesses that are doing metadata. If you're not doing metadata tagging, let's connect because you should start doing it in SharePoint because you'll significantly not only improve Copilot's ability, but it'll help you gain insights as to where your content lives, what type of data exists in the environment. Metadata doesn't have to be the entire SharePoint. It can be site-specific or library-specific metadata, and Copilot will also honor all of that across the ecosystem. Something that was announced was the Copilot agent mode and the Office agent mode inside of the Copilot experience. So that's your ability to vibe curate inside of Excel, Word, PowerPoint. Today, a lot of the features are US only, unfortunately, and locked to the Frontier program, and also only available to some of the personal, family, or premium subscribers. So that's the Copilot, the standard Microsoft 365 Copilot licensing from a product perspective, but will fold into desktop, into the web for enterprise licensing here later this month as a part of Microsoft Ignite. So we've been using it in the Frontier program. Brian and I, it's great to see it reason with you over PowerPoint presentations, things of that nature, and that be successful. If you're interested in some of the Excel features that they boast about in agent mode, you can install the Excel Labs added into Excel. It does require your Excel to be in preview. You do need to be in beta and in Frontier to get to it today. And then you have to install that plugin to use it. But it is something great where you're able to say, hey, I take this budget sheet and generate me reports and iterate with reasoning and validation. Its ability to reason with you over PowerPoint decks has been great. As you may have seen, some of my decks in some of the webinars been a lot more fluid. That's a big reason of that. It gives you live previews. You can use deep research on it, things of that nature too. Whew. Alrighty. So let's talk about the Copilot control system. So I'm going to take a pause for a second for coffee because there's a lot that's changing on the Microsoft 365 Copilot side. So importantly, as you may have heard from me, if you talk with me regularly, Microsoft is expanding your model selection choices in the ecosystem, not to only focus on OpenAI, but now with Anthropic models. So you're interested in using Anthropic in either Researcher or in Copilot Studio, you do have that capability. In both of those cases, you do need to enable at the tenant level. So you need to enable at the tenant to allow for Anthropic models. Importantly, when you do that, a thing to note is you're technically transmitting your data, as I have here on the slide, over to Anthropic and AWS. So your data will be leaving your Microsoft 365 service boundary today. The core experience will change, where Microsoft will host those models at some point, along with a couple of other AI models that I can't disclose, but they are doing a tremendous amount around tools and sources and computer vision to bring other models in, be able to do that. So I know a lot of people prefer the way that Claude does research. So you're able to bring that in now without having to build a fancy agent. But if you want to go in Copilot Studio, build an agent on those Anthropic models, you can do that. Importantly, if you want to use Anthropic in Copilot Studio, it requires you to have Copilot credits available to you, whether you do that via pay-as-you-go services or by purchasing Copilot Studio credit packs. That's the previously was called the Microsoft Copilot Studio licensing. That's the 25,000 messages for $200 a month in order to enable that. And then you can select which models you want to use from that going forward. If you're interested in learning more, reach out, or when you get the deck, you'll have a learn more button there that's available to give you more information. It will honor your Purview, your data labeling exercises from that regard as well. So it does still honor that full chain of custody. A welcome addition is the agent usage report is in public preview now. We'll roll out, I think that's next week from memory. So you're able to see how users are engaging with agents natively. You get granular control over that. Importantly, something that's come up with a couple of clients I've done engagements for now that are building unauthenticated agents that still requires you to build custom Power BI reporting to pull that data in. Trying to talk with a couple of MVPs I normally chat with about that to get access to some of the dashboarding that they're using to create that. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned because I'll have something separate around that in the coming weeks once I can get some hands on that. But importantly, if you're interested to see how users are engaging with your agents, get a kind of line of sight into those. You don't have to go into Purview anymore. There's a dedicated usage reports just for agents, help highlight agents that are not being used, find agents that have been orphaned, and really start to do cleanup. A big thing that a lot of people have been kind of on the lacking side is regular review of agents. So if you're not regularly looking at agents that are being created by your end users, it's something that you should go and do. You don't want finance agent number 72. So you do want to look in there, see what's being used, follow up with those users. And importantly, as you start talking about governance on agents and further expansion into Copilot Studio, there's a number of times I've run in with clients that have agents that are orphaned or ownerless. Ownerless agents will just sit there and eat up Dataverse storage. That comes at a cost to you, eats up your Power Platform storage as well. So do regular review of your agents. Use the reporting in the admin center to do so. If you want access to those reports, we can give you the specific role in the portal to do that. if you don't have GA, or global admin, excuse me. So something to keep in mind, and something you should fold into your quarterly or monthly reviews. You do have the ability to do policy settings for sensitive content in Copilot now, which is really great. So you can add more governance. You can add more words. You can add more governance over prompts using sensitive content. You can authorize people to have access to be able to ask certain types of questions, whether you want to do warnings or flag for alerts. You do have full scope control. So if you have a department that you don't want to ask certain type of questions, or you want to filter certain types of warnings that may be generated from them, you do have the capability to do that today. It rolled out in the end of September. That applies only today to Copilot prompts. Images and agent interactions are unaffected. So that'll be something that will get rolled in the coming weeks as well. As I mentioned, ownerless agents, you now have a quick way to view those. Those are when someone's created an agent and they may have been terminated, may have deleted their account. You're able to quickly find them, reassign or remove them. So that's great, because if you're not doing anything with your Power Platform from a governance perspective, which most clients are not, you can quickly find them and port them and move them instead of having to use PowerShell to do so. Again, really want to make sure that you're checking on agents and staying on top of that as a long-term initiative. Microsoft Purview now has the ability to view more AI apps. You can also have it use it for straight agent-to-agent communication, as we talk about agentic and multimodal. So you're able to see how agents are handing off and capture that, which is a big thing, because you do want to have, again, regular review of how your agents are interacting, because as you're building declarative agents, you're building agents that don't have direct interfaces. You still want to monitor those. You still want to make sure that what's being generated is correct. So something to keep in mind on that, as well as use those reports, and you're able to create policies to address that gap if you need to. It's all part of that portal. If you've gone through the Copilot readiness or enablement programs with us, happy to have a small conversation with you about getting that turned on. If you're interested in getting these turned on in your GA, you can go into Purview with the appropriate role in order to set those up as well. Microsoft 365 Copilot will be available. Will have the ability to connect to people data. So if you're using HR, human resources systems, you're able to pull that data across into the graph, which is nice. It allows you to have cross-app consistency across Copilot, Microsoft Search, profile cards, APIs. It does also enrich the identity data used by Copilot. Again, instead of just using department or title or manager, you can use more information from your HCM systems in order to be more consistent, more accurate. Something that big companies struggle with is that kind of consistency across HR platforms. So it's nice to see that is being grounded and integrated with a Copilot connector. So that rolled out. They started adding those third-party system connectors the end of September. There's ADP, all the other fun normal ones that most of our clients use. So that's been a great addition. Something that is a hot topic for a lot of people here at the end is your ability to have people bring their own personal Microsoft 365 subscription to your business. That comes with some potential inherent risk, but importantly, if someone has their own personal subscription, like myself, and I want to bring it to my business, instead of you paying for it, you can have your employees pay for it. Or if they're already using it there. Importantly, they have to be able to sign in with their personal account that's linked to that subscription in order to do that. But when they do that, it is literally just to verify that they have a license. And when they do that, it still honors all of the enterprise data security controls in Microsoft Purview. So it'll honor enterprise data protection, it'll honor DLP controls, it'll honor all of that fun stuff. So if people have their own subscriptions and they say, "Hey, I use Copilot. I want to use Copilot," and you go, "Well, I don't want to enable everybody, but there's a few people that already have a license." Instead of worrying about them signing in with their own personal Copilot license and using that, you can say, "Hey, bring your license into the enterprise and do that." So you're able to dual sign in. You're able to honor any of the enterprise permissions that get applied there. So the personal account's not going to go rogue and start diving into content that isn't meant to exist there. So it is good to see that to a degree, but you do have the ability to turn that off if you do not want people to be able to bring their own Copilot. You all should, or most likely, already control your ability to sign into Office with applications that are not tied to your domain. But if you want to enable people to bring their own licensing, you can do that now. All right, we're on the final stretch here. So I have not been able to see the chat. I'm gonna address all that when I get out of here, just because of the way the screen share happened. But let's kind of dive into some of the high level stuff on the release notes. So a lot of this we've kind of already covered. I'll leave this on screen for a bit so we can talk through a couple of key ones that I always find on here. A big thing that showed up for me yesterday, which I've been asking for kind of a couple weeks now, is the OneDrive app now has native Copilot support. So I've been using the web Copilot option for a couple of months. I've been boasting about it with clients. That is now a part of the core OneDrive app. So if you're in the OneDrive app, you can click on the button, get quick summaries, just using the little applet that's there. It doesn't have direct native right-click capabilities yet, but if you click on the OneDrive app in the bottom right, you're able to look at that stuff for documents that are coming in. So I'm glad to see that expansion. That'll roll out to be more Windows-centric as a part of the Windows 25H2 rollout. So if you're not looking to get to 25H2 quickly, you won't get all the fancy new Copilot features. But if you have users with Copilot Plus PCs and you're licensing those users with Microsoft 365 Copilot, I do recommend, if you want all the new fancy features, to go ahead and move them over to there. You're able to now use Copilot to create notebooks in OneNote, which was something a lot of people that still use OneNote notebooks are happy about. I do recommend, Microsoft's not doing anything with OneNote, but I do normally recommend that you start looking at pivoting over to Microsoft Loop, more from our data security and governance perspective, less from a, hey, I want to push new Microsoft products on you. Largely because with Loop, you can share individual pieces, pages, sections, entire workspaces. So it does give you more granular control over what can be shared with other people. Whereas OneNote, you either send a copy of your page or you share an entire notebook, which could lead to data leakage. In PowerPoint, you're able to generate new presentations from a file when starting from an existing presentation, so helping with templating, helping with formatting from that regard. Excel data can also now be built in the presentation using Copilot, or you can bring it in with Copilot. So that's been a great addition for those who create presentations with Excel tables on them. You can rejoice. Inside of the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, as I mentioned, you can get reports on Copilot search usage, which has been nice. So if you're interested to see if people are using that feature or not, you can steer them to that from an enablement perspective, because I use Copilot search all the time. One, so I don't have to write a prompt in the normal Copilot and say, hey, help me find such and such. I can go in that interface, search for something, search by people, search by source very quickly. And then use AI generation from there in order to help speed it up there. And then, as I mentioned, admin controls and your ability to do management on Copilot Search. So Copilot Search can connect to third-party data sources. We have ours connected to Snow. You can connect it to Jira. You can connect it to a ton of sources there, bring that data into the graph and make it usable. So if you're interested in Copilot connectors or Copilot Search capability, again, reach out. Happy to help conversations around that and talk through what you need to enable that. Something that always gets missed, I like to talk about all the time, and if you've done anything with me, you would have heard me talk about Copilot inside of Microsoft Edge. Go and use it. It is great that Microsoft gives you that, one, for free, and two, it has the ability to see what's on screen. It can see images, it can see text that's there, it can give you audio podcast overviews, it can do a tremendous amount. Yes, you can gripe about it's Microsoft Edge, but all the web browsers are Chromium based, so I would argue there's really no reason not to use it. And importantly, a big thing for me is I use you want to have managed browser experiences, right, for end users. So a lot of people don't realize that have purchased all the fancy managed web browser platforms like Prisma or Island, is you can use Microsoft Edge as a managed browser. It's free. It's a part of your core Microsoft 365 licensing. You literally just need to define some policies around it, and you can have a managed browser. You can control websites people can go to. You can control content they can get to. So not to be more, again, Microsoft shrill, but Edge is really king, especially as you talk about Copilot. So if you want that kind of, hey, I need to log into a captive portal and trying to use computer vision is slow, go in Edge, sign into that news article, sign into that webpage that has a captive portal, and then ask natural language questions in Edge, in Copilot. It'll see what's on page. Not Big Brother like, but it can see the page, formatting, images, things of that nature, which is great. You are able to do significantly more with Copilot memory, which has been a great addition. So there's quite a bit that's expanding from that front. There'll be some stuff I can't disclose right now that will be folded in here in the next couple of weeks. But do keep an eye on that if you're interested in expanding memory, expanding context windows, and that kind of shared chat experience. That'll be something that really highlights that and brings that kind of forward. A big thing people have asked for is, can Copilot remember previous interactions? That's something that we'll have a capability here in the next couple of weeks. In the main 365 Copilot app, it does have the ability now, again, to adjust format, adjust style, do audio overviews inside notebooks, as well as just pages. It's locked to the web today, but will be expanded to the main app here soon. And then a couple other things of notability is you may have seen inside of Copilot, it now generates safe links. So it's not just raw links to content. So we'll go through the safe links check. So if you don't know what safe links are, reach out. We can verify your policies are set up right to include Copilot in that. It should be by default. But safe links is your ability to make sure that the link is safe. So you can help avoid people directing you to definitely a totally real login page from that perspective. And you are able now as well through the extensibility layer, create agents from Teams meeting transcripts. So if you want an agent to look again at that marketing meeting week over week, you can build an agent specifically for that and go from there. An important change, which I don't have a slide for that I'll talk about, is just from a name change perspective, is you will see Copilot Studio Lite. That is what used to be called the Copilot Agent Builder. I'm not in marketing. I don't work for Microsoft. It's a terrible name change in my opinion, but who am I to say? But you'll see Copilot Studio Lite on a number of stuff that gets published by Microsoft here over the next couple of weeks. That is just the agent building experience in the core Microsoft 365 app. So if you're familiar with the app builder experience, that's what that is. That's where you click on create an agent inside the Copilot interface and start creating an agent. That's where that is there, and from that perspective. And then from a road mapping perspective, this is no longer a live presentation. So when you got a copy of the deck, you're able to click through a lot of these and look at the information that's behind these. So a tremendous amount of stuff has launched in the last month. Do keep an eye on really all the changes. As you all have probably heard from me, Microsoft changes all of this weekly. There's new stuff every week. It's, I guess, arguably my job to stay on top of it. But it is good to see Microsoft continue to expand the product and really show the value of the licensing. A big thing that's happened recently with clients I work with regularly is we talked 2 years ago about how Copilot was crazy expensive. I can't believe Microsoft's charging $30. I talked with a prospect of ours the other day that really wants to start leveraging Copilot more, but they are having a hard time get buy-in on it because they have 7 different tools and they're paying $140 a user a month for all these different tools. So we sat down and talked about what each AI tool they added, and they realized that Copilot has all that as a part of the native experience, or will in the next week or two. So if you're looking at adding multiple tools, I always recommend just wait a week or two. It is very likely Microsoft will buy a company to include it, or it'll be a part of the core experience. So it's something to be mindful of as you do expansions there. Copilot's built on Purview. It's built on the core of how Microsoft does your data governance and security, and will always honor DLP controls, insider risk management policies, and etc. So it is a big core of why to use Microsoft 365 Copilot. And again, as I mentioned, they're continuing to expand it. And then lastly, on really what's been new is being able to do video generation has been expanded. Your ability to do calendar search for email delegates, the equals Copilot function started. Will start its desktop rollout here in the next couple of weeks, as I mentioned. There is additional graph APIs that you're able to ingest for inventory and data in detailed perspective. It'll in Viva and in some of the Copilot analytics stuff, you're able to use the thumb up, thumb down feature more exclusively. You'll have a specific dashboard, which is nice because you can encourage people to thumbs up, thumbs down their experience, look at that, and then use that as a metric to coach and train people. So from an enablement perspective, it's a welcome add from that regard. With that being said, I talked for 50 minutes, and I feel like I went pretty quick as I normally do. So apologies there. Again, you'll all get a copy of the presentation as it goes out. If you have any specific questions, I'm gonna look at the Q&A now really quickly. I'm assuming Brian's been answering them, but let's kind of go through that. So Ricky asks, when do we expect Microsoft to incorporate Anthropic's new spreadsheet builder and editor into the offering, or is it a competing product? Microsoft is partnering more with Anthropic and other AI tooling companies. Importantly, with that, it's something where I can't disclose exactly when that's going to happen. They are looking to add those models. You will see Excel have a huge shift here in the next month. November will be a big month for Excel, thankfully. So do keep an eye on that. It's something that Microsoft is really focused on. You may have seen Microsoft did reduce their current ownership of OpenAI, jump down to 27%, even though OpenAI is committed from a billions perspective to keep some of the experience there. But it's very clear that Microsoft, if you've heard me talk about it before, is starting to lose trust in OpenAI's modeling. They also don't find their models to be especially as accurate as they used to be, as well as efficient from a consumption perspective. So they're folding in additional models. You'll see that as a part of the tools menu that will roll out here in the next month or so. And what's the shortest amount of time? So the question is, what is the shortest amount of time you can set a transcript to expire? Example, 1 hour after a meeting. It is days. You can set the expiration to be technically 1 day of expiration, but that does rely on a walker process to initiate. So I've had a couple clients set it to be words. Set it to be 1 day, but the transcript and the recording will still exist for 3 or 4 days because it hasn't gotten picked up by the service. So that's not really a reliable way to do that. If you have the appropriate Microsoft licensing, we can set up retention and lifecycle management policies to trigger. That will trigger much sooner, but understand that if you do policies for lifecycle and retention under communication compliance, that will also purge it from eDiscovery, which you may want. But if litigation comes and they see that you have a bunch of missing data around that, that asks more questions than answers them. So from a recording and transcription perspective, my recommendation is always let it naturally purge off after either 90 or 120 days. I'm sure Bryan will agree with me there. And then let it live in some form in eDiscovery so you can show that that it exists, that there was a meeting there. But if you really want to purge it, you can. But again, identify that if you have that weekly marketing meeting that you have, and that's being recorded and transcribed, and then you go through litigation and they see every week you have a hole in your eDiscovery, that raises again more questions than answer them. So we're seeing kind of a shift in letting stuff be recorded and transcribed more.
Yeah, Julius, the other thing I would add to that on the retention, if you do it through retention policies with retention labels, because Copilot honors labels of documents it accesses, if you leave a transcript for, say, 2 days so that people can get what they need out of it, if they then put that into Copilot, the interaction inherits the label that was on transcripts, as well as any documents that come out of it. So if you're saying, hey, go find all my transcripts, delete them after 2 days, you're going to delete those Copilot interactions and those outputs as well, even if that wasn't the intention.
Mm-hmm. And then there is one comment about Copilot not being able to access Outlook or etc. It sounds like you're using the consumer version of Copilot, not the Microsoft 365 Copilot app with your company's identity. I would say you should reach out to your client technology manager, the CRM, or the help desk to get that sorted if you're licensed for Microsoft 365 Copilot, or you likely are not licensed for it, and that's why you're having that experience. So I would say reach out to the help desk and or your service team to get that addressed. Cool. I know there's a ton of content that we covered today. If you have any other questions, again, feel free to reach out. I will yield the floor to Amisha, but I'll hang out here and see if there's any new questions that get thrown in there. But other than that, I do thank everybody for their time. Misha?
Thank you, Julius, for a great session and some really good questions there. Once again, the recording and the slides and the notes from today's session will be shared with you in your inbox tomorrow. And please do look out for a link to our new Microsoft Copilot playbook. It has absolutely everything you need to make the most of Copilot. So we hope you find that useful. Thank you so much. Hope everyone has a great day ahead, and see you on the next webinar. Take care.